Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to Mission Podcast. This is the Ashes first test review. I don't think any of us could have predicted the fact that we'd be sat here after 2 days, especially after me and Hayon. We recorded this on the Thursday night, I think it was, Hayon?
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, yeah, bruv. Wow. And here we are, Saturday afternoon, um, licking our wounds, really. We have a special guest from the Southern Islands in Australia, where I think one of the greatest cricketers, a bit of an understatement, was from there. The great Donald Bradman. He's not here, obviously. It's Val. He's our guest from Australia. So he'll be offering an Australian perspective, just like Justin Langer does for TNT Sports. TNT Sports, you need to reshuffle your broadcast, by the way. You piss me off. Um, but yeah, no, Val, straight away. What a victory, man, for you guys. How are you feeling?
I mean, I'm just as shocked as you guys. Like, I came into today thinking, especially after how last year's Perth test went, when, a bunch of wickets on the first day. The first couple overs this morning, I thought it straight away looked better for batting. And I thought, it was just set up for England to pile them on in the third innings. And then, I mean, what I predicted that it would get flatter on day two happened. It's just that it ended up being us batting, taking advantage of that, which I never would have imagined happening. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It was a complete shock, but for me, a good one.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it goes back to what I remember watching a 2010-2011 review, and Hilfenhaus was batting in a 2010-2011 series, and Strauss said, "Well, if Hilfenhaus can bat on this road, then why can't we?" And when Atkinson and Cast were knocking it around the park, I was thinking to myself, "Yeah, this is great. We can get over 200, but if Australia can just get settled in, then the Test match is gone." And didn't expect it to be gone in one session like that, but I can't even say that's cricket. That's just crazy stuff. Hey on, I know you're stewing there. You are
Um,
absolutely stewing.
I mean, you saw me. 3:30, I was dozing off, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll give myself an hour to sleep. I'll wake up. Woke up at 4:45, lunch. So as it starts, about 5:20, I was heavily questioning why did I even wake up. And ever since then, I went to bed about 6:15. Woke up, the game was finished, and I was like, what on earth? All I can say is Key and Baz out already. Sack Crawley, drop Crawley right now, but none of those are gonna happen. I think that's just heat of the moment kind of things. Can't really have. Honestly, I'm sort of speechless to say anything of rational mind. So anything that's gonna come out is probably gonna be very irrational for me for the next however long we're recording.
No, that's quite fair. I mean, let's go through. I suppose the first. Let's go through. I think because there's less sessions, I think we can go through it session by session. Um, the first over that Start bowled. I mean, wicket on the very last ball. Crawley plays a really bad shot. Um, and I was just thinking, God, this is this. Here we go. Scars are opening up, the wounds are opening up, and we England put themselves in a really bad position. Stark's on fire, and he's improved so much as a bowler. And I'm pretty sure Val's watched a lot of Mitchell Stark, and I think there was a time, I believe, that I think he was in and out of the Test side. 2019 Ashes, James Pattinson was getting ahead of him, and you know, look at where both of them are now. Really, how much of a big difference is having a fit and firing Mitchell Stark comparatively to, I suppose, any other bowler in the world's game? I think he's such a big difference maker. Val, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, like I'm not sure there's many better with the new ball in Australia. He's improved so much as a red ball bowler, and he loves red ball cricket, which I think is the main thing. Like, he's prioritizing it over franchise cricket, and he just gets up for it. Really, um, yeah, it was his responsibility to lead the attack, and you can't ask for any more than what he did. He deservedly got man of the match, despite the Travis Head 100. Um, and yeah, he's got the pink ball in the next one, so pretty good bet for leading wicket taker in the
Oh,
series, I
brother.
think too.
Yeah, nah, the Heian is just the stuffing has been absolutely knocked out of him, and the same with me as well. I didn't expect Mitchell Stark to have this crazy of an impact. I was just thinking England will probably tick along as they do, and take advantage of potentially the loose bowling that he'll have. But I've never seen Stark so potent like that. I think since the 2015 World Cup, and that was white ball cricket. Um, and he was phenomenal this Test match. I think the aura that he has every single time when he ran in, the rhythm he was just exuding. It was just I don't know how you could score off him. Genuinely,
I think he was a lot more fired up as well. Like when he got the first wicket off Crawley on day one. I mean, I'm speaking like it was a million days ago, but it was yesterday when he got Crawley in the first innings. I've never really seen him fired up like that when he was just charging down. It was like so fired up. I don't know what it was, maybe the occasion or everything, but he just looked brilliant with the ball. I think England didn't help themselves with a lot of the shots we played, especially Crawley. Like both innings, what an absolutely awful dismissal. But Stark was just different gravy, wasn't he? And credit goes to Boland as well, actually, because me and Val were talking last night, and he said Boland is kind of playing for his place in the next test because when Cummins is back, it's going to be a shootout between Doggett and Boland, and if Boland doesn't well this innings, it's going to be they're going to go with Doggett. One would assume, but credit to him, he came in, hit brilliant lines. I mean, it was two daft shots from Crawley and Brook. Those balls you do not drive, but he was hitting the right lengths, and credit to him. Yeah,
I think one of the big things with Scott Boland is that he knows his game inside out, and and I think the mistakes that he made in the first innings was because he felt that he was a new ball bowler. You got to get the ball up, pitch it up. You went away from his wheelhouse. Um, and then when it came to the second innings, he slightly dragged his length back a little bit. What that allowed him to do was go back into his, I suppose, his bubble of bowling. Um, that fourth, fifth stump line, kind of like a 3/4 length, well, 6 to 8 meter length, I should say. When he was hammering away at that, human error comes into effect. Like Ollie Pope looked was, I think, for the most part of the test when he was batting, looked very reassured, and then Boland came on all of a sudden and got into his work, and Ollie Pope just looked like the Ollie Pope of old. Just didn't look like he had a clue. Um, and it was quite disappointing to see that Ollie Pope didn't have the patience. I felt like, you know, he doesn't get out. Trying to drive, trying to drive those balls. I think we could still be talking about England, batting. I don't know. It's wishful thinking. It really is wishful thinking. But that Boland spell, I reckon, changed the game for Australia. That little spell where he bowled to Pope, that was the killer for Australia, for England, I should say.
what did you make of Boland's spell, Val?
Yeah, it was excellent. Like that first day, as you said, like he was just pitching it up too much. And I think, England obviously in the last Ashes, they made a real effort to get after him and he didn't really know really what to do. And obviously over there he couldn't get that natural bounce that could help him. But I think once, because he's such an older, experienced guy, once he trusted, his skill set and dragged it back just that little bit, he was able to cause all sorts. And I thought, obviously it won't seem like there's many positives for England, but a lot of their batters looked good most of the game. Like I thought Duckett looked great. Pope I thought looked really good. But yeah, it's just that he bowls so many balls when he finds his area that can just do something a little bit more. And there's always just such a big margin for error when, in Australian conditions, when you have guys that, want to get bat on ball. And, that's his bread and butter is just that test match length, fourth stump. And yeah, England didn't help themselves by going after it. But yeah, I was really impressed second innings for him to come back like that.
Yeah, I think that fight back really showed what kind of character Boland is. I think in Australia 4 years ago, and kind of continuing on, he's had it quite easy, and the fact that batters are quite happy to either leave or prod and be unsure. I think that first innings was probably the real first time that he was tested, and given that to be the case, it's very easy to assume that he might go back into his shell. He may not bowl well, and England will target him again. But a lot of credit to him. He changed the game in that in England's second innings. I want to make a note actually on the way that Harry Brook, Ollie Pope, and Jamie Smith batted in that first innings. Um, I thought Harry Brook was superb. I thought it was fantastic. Just what England needed. Um, and the same with Ollie Pope as well. Jamie Smith too. And I think I was a little bit disappointed when Ollie Pope got out. Um, he wasn't as watchful enough of Cameron Green. I know Hayon had a issue with the way that he got out. Kind of his head fell over. His head fell over off stump, but to his defence, Green was scattergunning it. But if that's the kind of approach England want to take, I think it's got to be you've got to be measured. You have to be measured in your approach, because I'm looking at this scorecard. Harry Brook was going at 85 strike rate, Pope 79. It wasn't like gung ho, all guns blazing. It was very controlled scoring, and I don't know, man. I'm a little bit. I was quite disappointed that
I thought,
I'm disappointed that no one else was able to back that up.
yeah, 100%. I think Brook batted really well in the first innings, and I think there was going to be a lot of questions about whether he's going to take the short ball on. But I think up to his 52, I know he got out in a bit of a strange way, like trying to leave it. It got up on him whether to hook it or not. But I thought he'd take the aerial route with the short ball, but I thought he played really well, like trying to keep all them down and then score on the offside a bit more. He didn't give in to the temptation of trying to just, hook one for six when they tried to go after him. But I thought he was well, but then he threw that all away in the second innings when he decided to drive the ball that he did and straight to Hazza. But yeah, I thought he batted quite well. I think Smith batted quite well as well. I think maybe England are better off switching Smith and Stokes, so Smith can bat with proper batters and Stokes can bat with the tail. So it gives him a bit more freedom. So maybe that's something England can look into, but that's neither here nor there, is it now?
I think the stronger lineup is Smith at 6, but it's just such a big call, to drop your captain to 7 that I don't see them making it. And I suppose also they want to break up the left hand, right hand. But yeah, he looked great in both innings, I thought.
Second innings was
really unlucky. Yeah, unlucky is like the nice way of putting it. Should we get onto that? What does everyone think of that one?
That's when I went to sleep. That's the last thing I saw. I was like, if I stay awake any longer, I'm gonna like lose my mind, because I understand that there was a spike, but it could have been anything. The naked eye, you can see there's a massive gap between bat and ball. Sometimes just use your common sense. You don't have to go off what Snicko says. There's a spike. It could have been anything. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you remember Headingley 2019, where Cummins, there was a spike and he thought he didn't hit it against Archer, but they gave it out anyway. But this was even more. There was a massive gap between bat and ball. I don't know how you could ever give that out, to be honest.
I think he sort of started walking off. I think that
kind of made up his mind. I do agree.
Yeah. Like, I think he might have hit it, but I don't think it should have been given out. Like, I think it could be both.
I thought there was enough reasonable doubt for you to say, "Oh, that does not look like it's edged it."
I think one of the big things is that you look at Jamie Smith's reaction after he didn't see mast. It was like, okay, I've kind of know I've hit it. I'm just gonna accept it, whether the tech showed it or not. Because if you know you've hit it, if you know you've hit it as an international cricketer or even any level of cricket, you know you've hit it. You just accept it, and if you're given out, you're given out. That's it. That's how the cookie crumbles. I think Harry Brook, he knew in the first innings he edged his when Australia went to review, he walked off. But like if Smith decided to kick up a fuss, that's when I would have been like, "Ooh, okay, there's a problem here." But he didn't really show too much care because he knew he edged it. I don't know,
I
but I
think
think that's probably the only saving grace, or unless he's trying to be nice about it. I'm
no,
not
I don't
sure.
think it's that. I think under I might be looking into it too much, but I think under this regime of Buzzball, they don't really put worth on the wicket. They're kind of like happy to just walk off a lot of the time. Or all right, we played a stupid shot. It's okay. And then I'm surprised Harry Brook hasn't come out and said I'd rather get Smith get out trying to hook one instead of him getting out trying to defend one. But oh, I'm just gonna add a spare point. I hope they do not put Brook or Duckett in front of a camera in the next 10 days because for my mental well-being.
Health, yeah,
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Please do not put them two in front of a camera for the next 10 days. Whatever. I know England. No one in England's listening to this, but please just don't put them in front of a camera. But yeah, back to the point of thing. I don't think they put Worth on the wicket. They're like happy to be all right. We played a stupid shot. Move on. And I think that's one of the biggest things. I think it's almost complacent. Not almost. It's complacent in their thinking in Boswell. And I think it's gonna you need a coach that's gonna like just kind of give him a kick up the backside kind of thing where their place isn't always secure. Whereas under Baz, they know they could play the world's most stupid shot, and it's all right. We'll go again next time. So yeah,
I think obviously I can understand how annoyed you be, but like I think England also have to just be calm. I know obviously that's kind of a meme at this point about moral victories and whatever, but they were the better side for a lot of this game. Like they showed that they can get
hang
on
in
top
there.
of Australia
Yeah,
a lot, and they threw it away. Like Australia did really well in that third innings. Obviously, bowled great, but England gave the game back to them. But they had it, so they got almost 2 weeks off.
a
Australia,
lot.
they lost that pink ball test to the Windies, in Brisbane a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Shamar Joseph.
They're gonna have chances to win games, and like, yeah, they just gotta try and put this behind them. I
yeah.
suppose.
I
That's
think
that's a great point, Val. I think. Sorry, Helen. That's a great point. The issue is though, and I think this might be something that might be in Hayan's mind as well, is that how many times have England gotten into a winning position under this
Yeah,
regime and
I
thrown
was.
it away?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I think when you look back over the Buzzball regime, you look at that test at Edgbaston, you look at that test at Lords, you look at those tests in New Zealand, you look at a couple of tests in India, and I think it's a repeating theme of these guys just not cashing in when they're ahead and just letting teams come back like Edgbaston. Why would you ever declare on day one?
No, I
Like
could see the reason behind
no,
that. To be
no,
fair,
not a chance.
yes, yes.
Root was batting
I'm
at
not going to get
120.
into it, but yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
going to get into it. But I can see why, 100%.
fair enough. Each to their own. But I think like Hazza made a point of every time they're ahead, they just don't seem to cash in, and they just let teams come back and you go, well, hold on a minute. How did that end up? Like, you look at the Old Trafford test. India were not for two, and they finished. And England had about a day and a half to bowl, and they couldn't bowl India out.
I mean,
And
that's not. I don't. I think it's more of a case with the batting. Like you look at the final Test match. I think it was the Oval against India,
oh,
where
another test, yeah.
yeah, that I think that test is quite damning. The Lord's Test, particularly when Lyon was out of the attack, the amount of times England have thrown away a Test match is pretty shocking. And yeah, you can say, okay, well, okay, guys, if they didn't play the aggressive style of cricket to get there, then they wouldn't have been in the winning position in the first place. Look, I understand that, but the method to win, but there is at the end of the day, you still need to have the killer instinct to win games of cricket. And that's what separates good sides and the best sides in the world. Australia, what they did today was they looked at what the opposition wanted to do, turned that against them in that second innings, in England's second innings, played that to their advantage, played on their egos, and ultimately won the Test match because England threw it away. Australia know that they don't have to be fantastic to win. They just need England to be crap, and they'll just naturally go about their own way because they know out of that top seven, two or three of them are going to get runs anyway, at least once in a test match. And that's what Travis Head did in that second innings. So yeah, what Val, you're right. England have got chances, and they will have chances to win games. Like I'm still confident that England can still mount a fight back in this series. There's no doubt about that. The issue that they have is whether they have the killer instinct and the want, the will, and the desire to just fight it out in tough situations. If they don't have that, then they don't deserve to win an Ashes series. They don't deserve to win a Test match. You know, they weren't able to. They didn't want to tough it out today when Boland was bowling fifth or sixth stump line. Um, so if they can't tough it out, then when Cummins and Hazelwood come back into the side, when will they be able to? When will they be able to tough it out? When will they be able to rein it in a little bit, soak up a little bit of pressure, concede that okay, this session isn't going the way we want it to? How can we then take the next session to be ours, especially with the bat?
I think, adding to your point, I think it's again consistent theme of under Baz in the white ball setup and in the red ball setup when like the ball's doing a bit or when they're under the pump, their approach is just to go harder instead of sometimes you just gotta soak up the pressure, like you said, and be alright. All right, you know, right now we're just gonna take the punches and we'll come out on top when it's our time because these bowlers are not going to bowl 15, 20 over spells, are they? So just for the next few overs, just go into your bunker, go into your shell a bit, and just take the punches. But their approach is, all right, the ball's doing a bit, we're going to come harder. And that doesn't work against bowlers of this class. They're going to get you out if you just try and go harder at them. I look at how Pope got out, look at how Brook got out, and you think, come on, it's just stupidity. Sometimes you just got to let the ball go and put your ego to the side. And I think that's one thing this England team never does is put the ego to the side.
I think the other thing is, they went hard with their hands, but they weren't like full blooded shots. They were just really just pushing at it. So it's like, even if you're going to go after it, throw everything at it. Like, these are fast pitches. If you know, give it everything, yeah, you might get out, but a lot of those will fly over. But if, you push at the ball, to defend at it, you're going to you're going to get out.
It's catching practice, isn't it? It's catching practice for these guys. Yeah. But if I'm going to talk about any of the positives, I want to talk about how well England bowled. From an England perspective, we'll move on to Australia in a bit. But from an England perspective, the way that they bowled in that first innings. Look, I know there was the caveat that Usman Khawaja didn't open, so Labuschagne went up a spot, Smith went up a spot. That meant everyone else pushed up um, a spot. Sorry, I think only Smith and Labuschagne went up one, and Khawaja came in at four. But I was seriously impressed with the way that England bowled. Like, for all their batting woes, they got their attack right. We can disregard what happened in the second innings. I thought that was a freakish display of batting, but in that first innings, that was an amazing response, and that was so good to watch. Archer was on fire. Cast, I mean, once he got over it, when he bowled a bad ball, first ball, he got into his work and did really well. Gus Atkinson didn't take a wicket this entire Test match, but I thought bowled really well. And obviously Stokes, Captain Marvel with the ball in this Test match. So yeah, positive signs for England with the ball. Uh, Batting's you gotta score runs though. Give your bowler something, man.
Yeah, I thought Atkinson, especially that first innings, like, he didn't get a wicket as he said, but there were so many in that first spell to Marnus, especially, where they were just too good. They were too good to get a nick, and it wasn't the case of bowling a bit too short where it just looks good. On another day he had three for. And yeah, Cast, I think that ball to Kawaja was just a
Snort.
ripper. Yeah. Archer, obviously, I think everyone here expects Archer to be good. we've waited for 6 years to see him, but it was those other two that I think really caught the eye.
I think the best thing about the England attack was just that it was a sense of inevitability. Sorry, I can't get my words out. But like it's like if one's not gonna get you, the other will. It was like Archer, Atkinson set the tone up front. Class comes in brilliant. Would not maybe not so great, but still decent. And then Stokes comes in and cleans up. I think in terms of like last 10, 15 years, I can't think of a as a bowling unit where England have bowled so well as a unit. Obviously, you've got the broad spell in at Trent Bridge. You've got the broad spell in as Johannesburg or Cape Town versus South Africa. But as a unit, I don't think I've ever seen England bowl as well as a collective, and I thought that was brilliant to see. And maybe I was thinking, oh, maybe we're in here with a shout, but I was still kind of pessimistic because I remember I texted Val when at the end of yesterday's play, I said, "You guys, I still think you guys are favourites," and he goes to me, "No, no, no, this game's done in 2 3 days." I mean, he wasn't wrong about that, but I think he meant as in England are going to win, but no one thought this would happen, did they? So yeah,
Yeah, like my prediction was, day two, as like last year's Perth test, India came out when the pitch was at its flattest and then just completely wore us down. Like for 2 days they batted. And, in hindsight, would England ever bat for 2 days? They might score 350, but they'd still leave us a day, to bat in the best time, of the game. So, like, yeah, I predicted that, England were going to cash in when it's best to bat. And, it ended up being us, you know, batting fourth innings on the best batting conditions, which is ridiculous. But I mean, I was I hadn't made this point yet. I alluded to it before we started recording, but I don't know if you saw in the lead up to the series, the Cricket Australia CEO, whatever, Todd Greenberg, had been talking about like last year, Cricket Australia had posted losses. So there was talk about maybe they were going to produce flatter wickets to try and extend the days out to, obviously bring in more money. And, now that it's over in 2 days, perhaps England have like, they're trying to play the long game here of, yeah, we'll let Australia have a win, but we'll affect the bottom line down the road and, rob them of 2 days of revenue. So
I think revenue doesn't really matter to us, in it. You like, I think Stark, I think it was it Stark saying that I think made something similar point of saying telling the curators don't worry about the match revenues, make whatever pitches you want. So yeah, I think I'm sure the series win will probably bring in more money to Cricket Australia than what 2 days worth of Optus Stadium, 2 3 days worth of Optus Stadium would. But the one thing I am quite good about is all those England fans who travelled probably got 2 3 days worth of tickets and what the game's over in 2 days. It probably took
well,
like a
I've never
25.
been to Perth, so they'll have a chance to explore it more than I ever have. So
Fair dues.
you know,
Is
get out to Rottnest Island, see the quackers.
fair
Great
dues.
day out.
Probably jump in a river as well after that. Seeing that.
Probably. Or I mean, I'm sure there's enough alcohol for a lot of the travellers to indulge in Perth.
Can I
Fair
ask,
enough.
who's on the TNT broadcast team?
Well, they've got the two commentators are a cyclist and an ex-rugby union player, and they're in London, so the audio's out of sync. It's horrendous. But the team out in Australia is Cook, Finn, and Justin Langer, but they're like on the ground, so they're just doing analysis. But the
Right.
actual broadcast, I mean, as the main commentary team is in London, watching from I'm assuming some sort of a studio. So it's been the broadcast itself has been horrendous. Like on day one, a lot of the wickets and stuff were out of sync. So like you'd hear the audio, but you wouldn't see the thing. So it was horrendous, obviously, because they're not live at the action. So yeah,
I think I'd rather watch Fox, to be honest. I know it's heavily Australian biased, but at least everything's in sync and you can kind of understand. Whenever they put on the skeletons and the weight transfer, you can understand the build up. I don't. You sometimes don't. You lose the appreciation of that really when it comes on. Before we go into the Australian side of things, McCullum's just had an interview.
oh
Uh,
dear.
yeah. So McCullum said, I thought 200 was actually a pretty good score for us to try and defend in the last innings, which I do agree. Um, because, look at the way the pitch has been playing and whatnot. But and he said, but the way Travis Head played was absolutely outstanding. It's one of the best knocks I've ever seen in a pressure situation on a tough wicket. And Gilchrist said that Gilchrist thought that we scored more runs than we needed. Uh, but man, let's talk about moving on from that. Let's have a look. Let's
I'm
just
just gonna add something. I think there's a quote from Justin Langer this morning. He was speaking to Baz. He goes, Baz said, "Our players soften the ball by hitting the ball, not leaving it. At the very least, there will be some disappointed people in England dressing room that the way we battered." I'm baffled by an England coach saying that, and I think maybe he needs, first of all, he needs to read the room. Second of all, if that's the kind of mentality that they have, serious questions need to be asked. But yeah, moving on.
yeah. He said, let me. I'll say this. In the end, we got out. We nicked a couple of wider balls, and some of our high quality players who were freewheeling types of cricketers weren't quite able to put pressure back on the opposition. We found ourselves in a bit of a collapse, and that's something we'll have to look at. But I never want us to go away from our style. That is our best opportunity to try and put opposition teams under pressure. Yes, there's times where we have to throttle down, and times where we can power up. But the basic principle of how we try and operate as a team is to try and exert some pressure back on the opposition. We've been trying to insulate against reacting to things too much for a little while. We know that this one's going to hurt, and it's going to not just hurt us, but all the English people that follow this cricket team as well. We've got an extended time off for over the next 10 to 12 days to make sure that when we get back to Brisbane, we bounce back. To me, there is no other way other than to stay together and keep backing one another and keep heading towards the target. This is a marathon, not a sprint. We've had a very bad day today, but we've done it before. That's our blueprint. We're married to that, and we won't back down from that over the next 4 tests.
It sounds like a quote you hear
Copium,
after every England loss.
100%.
copium, copium.
I think it's a quote that you hear from Baz every single time, like Val said. And I think uh I don't know, would you guys, I don't know if I'm again looking into too much, would 12 days be a bit too long of a break for you to start overthinking? Maybe, like you've had the way England have been battered this test, and then you have like nearly 2 weeks off. Could there be a possibility that they start overthinking a bit too much, or is just another case of you dust yourself off and you go again?
I don't think this team really does overthink. They just have their way and they'll just
True.
commit to it. You know,
To be fair, assuming like guys like Brooke really don't have the facilities to overthink anyway. So yeah,
Yeah. I think what England will take from this test match is, well, a lot of these guys actually haven't batted in Australia. Brooke, Duckett, Jamie Smith. Ironically, the three guys I thought that looked okay. Obviously, Ollie Pope's been there,
woo,
and he played
Campbelltown.
okay. Sorry.
He played for the same club I did, Campbelltown
uh,
Ghosts.
Oh no, I mean who
uh,
Pope?
yeah, Ollie Pope,
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's so sick. What the hell? Did he play in the twos before he played in the ones?
no, he went straight in.
Oh
But he
god.
did the under 21s. He basically took those days off.
Yeah,
All right.
was it Monty Panessa you said played for that club as well, or
Yeah, he played this season before.
yeah?
Not as good as
Okay.
Ollie Pope, to say the least.
Fair, fair dues. But yeah, I think to the point of Ollie Pope didn't look too bad. To be fair, I think you know what, he was the one whose position was under most threat, fairly unfairly, considering the returns that Zach Crawley's had, but he didn't look too bad. But so yeah, I think there's a lot of questions need to be answered for England's other batters. Crawley, Duckett, Root. I think he's got enough. He's England's greatest ever, so can't really question Root. But
I think the only thing I'm going to question on Joe Root is that who did he get out to in the first innings? That was Stark, wasn't it?
Stark,
Stark
both
squared him
innings.
up, squared
Yeah,
him up.
and then then he got out to Stark in the second innings.
Yeah, dragged on.
doesn't face too many quality left arm bowlers often, does he?
Not that I can think of. India didn't have one from memory.
I
South
suppose
Africa, Janssen.
Janssen,
Janssen. That's it.
um,
I don't think he's ever faced Janssen for. He wouldn't have faced Janssen for a
No,
few years.
Sheen maybe. Bolt.
23, I think. Bolt, England really haven't. Bolt doesn't really bowl that often anymore, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
certainly
just
not against that sort of bounce.
That sort of
no.
bounce, that sort of speed. I think I'm more worried about Stark to Stokes than I am to
Yeah, that
Root.
was
You know what
I
it is.
was
I'm
going to
not.
bring this up.
The reason I'm not worried about start to Stokes is because I know it's going to be a wicket every single time. So why am I going to even bother worrying about something that's going to happen? I'm more
Yeah,
worried about start to Root because if that is like Hazelwood's got the wood over Root, like
So does
it's
Cummins.
and so does Cummins, but Stark now as
Green a
well,
little bit too.
and it's like, well, I'm slowly like casting a doubt. It's there's already a slow cloud over my mind that's thinking, can Root actually still score 100 if if he's, even if he bats time? Can his teammates stick around? Is he going to be able to last 100 balls before, there's a ball that comes on it with a name on it and the pitch flattens out, etc. I think it's not going to be down to Root being a bad player to him not scoring 100. It's going to be down to the fact that either wickets are falling around him or there's just going to be a ball with his name on it. Um, and that's always been the case in Australia. Um, the way that Australia bowl and the way that Root plays, and I still think he's going to get 100. But after watching him in the first two innings, where he got worked over for the first wicket and then I think he played a really pedestrian shot for the second innings. I'm a little bit worried for him. Just a little bit, not too much, but there's just enough in there for me to think this could go pear shaped really quickly. If he doesn't, get if he doesn't kickstart in the second test. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
what
think
you
like
think.
there's a chance that yeah, I think he still probably will score that 100, but I think there's a pretty good chance he doesn't and has pretty much the same series he's always had in Australia where he generally plays pretty well. It's just that,
That mental block.
there's the mental block and also like his game, the strengths that make him so good everywhere else, being so light on his feet and being able to run that ball down to third man for a single, you know, at will everywhere else. That's dangerous here.
It's
100x.
that back foot punch as well through
Yeah.
square of the wicket. Like he kind of rides with the bounce when he plays the shot. Um, where he kind of rides the bounce and he's susceptible to nicking the ball off the slip. But who am I to know about Joe Root's technique or anything? I'm just as an England fan, just a little bit worried about Root. I really hope he makes me eat some humble pie because I'd love for him to score that 100. But I'm just a little bit doubtful, and I've got every right to feel that way.
I think
Uh,
he can also there's a like if the pitches are like this and the games are like this, he can be the best batter in the series and also still not score 100.
Well, 100%, I think. But uh, I doubt any other pitch is going to be like this, though. Obviously, you know a lot more
Not
about
the pace, definitely not the pace, but
Bounce 100%.
yeah,
bounce will be there, but I think he can maybe manipulate the bounce if there's no pace, because that becomes a double kind of whammy for him if it's a wicket with that much bounce and also with that much pace and some sort of movement as well. Whereas I'm sure Adelaide is quite flat, isn't it? If I'm correct me if
yeah,
I'm wrong.
especially if now that it's a day red ball game this time around.
So maybe Adelaide can cash in or even at MCG.
Yeah,
Uh,
those are the two I'd think.
Somewhere down, and then SCG does not look like it's a thing because it wasn't that the game where the Shield game where Hazelwood got injured and I was watching some clips of that and the ball was staying really low. I don't know if that was SCG or a different ground.
It was. It's been a
Okay.
bizarre ground because it used to have, the reputation as being the turning pitch in Australia. But the last 2 years, it's like
It's not
seam
spun.
bowler's paradise.
It's
It's
not spun.
that test last year was over in 3 days.
I'm
Split
correct in
bowling was
saying
unplayable.
it's the only not dropping wicket left in one of the
Yeah,
major Australian test venues, isn't it? So
yeah. And
So
then, but also some years it's completely flat and it always rains, and then it's a draw. So you
uh,
never know what you're going to get in Sydney.
yeah, I did read. I know it's a bit early, but there's been a lot of talk about rain in Sydney, so I thought it's a bit early for that. But
It happens every
yeah,
year. So
uh,
Shane Warne
Fair.
used to remind us constantly about it.
R.I.P. Anyway, away from the melancholic moment of rain, Shane Warne, etc. Let's talk about the Aussies in a bit more detail. I want to talk about the batting lineup now because Travis Head has thrown the cat amongst the pigeons here. In retrospect to him scoring 120 in a stupidly crazy pressure cooker situation of an Ashes test and has played one of the most iconic innings in Ashes history. And do you move him to back? Do you move him back to number 5? Do you keep him opening with Weatherald or with Kawaja and you drop Weatherald? What is the sketch? What do you do? Um, because as an England fan, I'm wetting myself if I'm seeing Travis Head open the batting in that day night game. If he opens the batting, I'm not going to be happy. If I see Kawaja and Weatherald, it's 20 for 2.
uh, you know, with the sort of technique Head has, there's obvious flaws to it. And if you have him open, especially in a day-night game where that pink ball's moving, usually moves all over the gaff, you could potentially get him early. So there's obvious things with him. I think it helped the fact that he was some sort like it was almost a trump card today with Khwaja not being there. So pardon me. England really didn't have a wouldn't have had a plan against him because they would have been expecting Khwaja, who's a very different player to Head. So compared to when in a couple of weeks they'll have had if they probably will have a lot of time to work on plans versus Head if he is too open. So it might be a lot different when that time comes around. So yeah,
Yeah, I could see them doing it, especially if Kawaja is you know is injured. But yeah, I agree. Like it was a very perfect sort of situation for Head. Like England were absolutely expecting Labuschagne to come out. They would have been had all their plans on building pressure. Just like the first innings. So for Head to come out when the pitch was at its best as well, I think like it's important to consider that because yeah, like if England have 2 weeks and he has a very open technique, he can, you know, like I think Jofra Archer bowling around the wicket with the new ball, if there's anything with it, in the pitch on day one, when he gets that ball to come back in, from around the wicket, like it could look ugly. And I think that's why they haven't done it before, even though he opens in white ball cricket, he opens in Asia. So, I mean, it gives them a lot of flexibility. Like, it'd allow Webster to come back in, which, that extra bowling would be really handy. But I don't know. I'd be more conservative and move him back to 5 still. Maybe not Kawaja if I think this might be the time, to pull the trigger on him. Renshaw's been in great form, and he is that more sort of classic opener. But I mean, I'm interested to see what they do. But
I
yeah,
think
like
to your point of having a spare bowler, what do you think about the prospect of dropping Nathan Lyon and having Bo Webster to increase your batting depth and also get extra seamen? Because Lyon only bowled what 2 overs this game, and next game is a day-night test where it'll probably be not. One would assume with the pink ball test it won't be the high scoring, so it won't go the 4 or 5 days where you'll need a spinner to really bowl the long overs. So what do you think about the prospect of dropping Nathan Lyon and then adding Bo Webster, and then you can maybe get another extra batting to really lengthen that batting lineup?
yeah, I think like I was thinking about that during this game, but it's always like I think they just take the approach of, it's better to have him and not need him than, need him and not have him. And he does have a good record in Brisbane because it just suits his bowling so well with that top spin. But yeah, and I think if they really wanted to kind of do both, but not commit to batting someone like Webster or Carey at 8. There's always Michael Neser, who's more of a bowler than a batter, as opposed to Webster, who's a batter who can bowl.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think Lions, especially if he had some sort of injury concerns as well. Like, yeah, they got a lot of options now.
Yeah, I
I
think they've
think
got to. I think they've got to put the. Sorry, Helen.
that's all right.
But I think they've got to like. They've got to say they've got to tap Kawaja on the shoulder personally, because I know what you're saying, Val, and Hayon in retrospect to Travis Head's technique, but Usman Khawaja just doesn't. I think even last summer just didn't look like he had an idea against world class. Obviously, Bumrah's levels above, Archer, Atkinson, etc. But even then, when he was facing Cars and whoever else, he just looked like he had no clue.
Yeah, like
And
I think I'd rather have Travis Head opening than Kawaja at this point.
yeah, because
Not necessarily Travis Head opening over another opener, but I think
yeah,
Kawaja. I think
that's
is
the choice you've got at the moment. Because you look at the way, look at the discrepancies between the first innings and the second innings for Australia. You had Labuschagne and Smith kind of like trying to survive their way out of the situation versus someone who was actively looking to score. And when you do that against genuine pace bowlers, they kind of like they lose their heads just a little bit, and you put pressure back onto them. You're reversing the pressure, and that's something I don't think I can see Usman Khawaja doing very well. And I also like the way that Jake Weatherall batted as well. Just acted
yeah,
as a perfect foil for Travis Head in that opening stand. It just allowed Weatherall to just get set in. England were hunting for wickets just a little bit more with Weatherall, and he was able to play a few lovely little pull shots and a couple of drive balls as well, which I thought, yeah, this guy looks like he can play. He knows his game. And I think having Travis Head opening with Weatherall just allows Australia to just, you could take a game away in a session in a similar way that, David Warner was able to. And I think Travis Head has got like, he's not as technically as sound as David Warner, but he's got a lot more attacking, he's got a lot more big innings in him than David Warner ever had. So there's something that, Australia could look at. That's something Australia could look at. And it's not necessarily the succession for a test team or, oh, let's have a look at bedding Matt Renshaw in because he could be our opener in the next 3 to 4 years. It's about, okay, how do we win this Test series because it is the Ashes? How do we dominate and make sure that we retain these Ashes? And if it's Travis Head having to open and you bring Bo Webster in at 6 and you have Cameron Green in there as well, you have the extra bowling, then that's going to be the case because you can play the side that you want. Like you can have Usman Khawaja opening because he's a nice guy and he fields at first slip, and he plays the ball from the crease and he looks a little bit more technically sound. But if it's gonna kill England off, you gotta play him. You gotta play Travis Head
I think
as an opener.
uh I think this Usman Khawaja injury is sort of a blessing in disguise for Australia. It kind of gives them a bit more flexibility and also kind of gives them a thing of all right, we can just tap him on the shoulder and say, all right, you're kind of over the hill now and you're not kind of in our plans anymore. So like it's a sort of a blessing in disguise for Australia, yeah.
also he's also a terrible first slip fielder. I don't.
I'm
I
not. I'm
guess
not. I'm
there's
not.
nowhere
I'm
else
not
to.
saying he was good. I'm just saying
Oh
like, oh,
yeah,
he filled
yeah,
it
yeah.
first
But it's
flip
like
and like
I've always been like I guess there's nowhere else to put him really because he's so slow. But I've never understood why they've persisted in with him there. Like like that catch. There was that one today. Was it off Smith from Starc?
I think so, yeah.
yeah.
It was off Smith,
Oh,
yeah.
it was a dolly.
Yeah. So I mean that'd be another plus to getting rid of him. Like I love Kawaja. He's had a really great career, but it's time to go. I think.
Father Time catches up with everyone.
Yeah. And he's done well, to hold it off for this long. 39 good innings, but yeah.
Off you pop.
Personally, I would love it if he'd stayed, but that's beside the point.
Just bring him in for Sydney if it's actually slow, because he's still great against against slower bowling. So if they get a surface that seems quite dry, he's always an option. But yeah, I think at this point, if the choice is between Head and Kawaja, I'd take Head.
Yeah, you'd be stupid not to.
I think
Genuinely.
the going off the first test, I think Australia are going to take the conservative route because, like, when you look at the lineup for the first test, the out there approach would have been Labuschagne opens, Green at 3, and they went for the conservative one. Weatherall opens, Labuschagne at 3, Green at 6, and Webster gets dropped. So I think going off what Australia do, I think they're going to go for the conservative approach. Maybe you guys might not agree, but that's just what I think. I think they're going to go for the safer option, the safer bet.
I think they
Compared,
will go for the safer bet. I'm just saying what I think should happen if Australia want to win the series. Like,
I think
you
they're
know,
going
if
to
they,
win
if,
regardless.
well, there's ways of winning. You can either win by your opposition making so many mistakes, or you dominate. And well, it's gonna say 3-0, 4-0, whatever, and people are gonna remember it as that. But moral victories, man. I'm here for the moral victories. We've got to note it down. There's got to be some asterisks. Val's wetting himself on mute, thinking, yeah, this English put this pommy prick is talking about moral victories, etc. Going to put that one on a postcard. Um, but yeah, no, Australia going down the conservative route wouldn't surprise me. Uh, wouldn't surprise me if they kind of went for the same 11 and then swapped out Doggett for Cummins. Um, doesn't shock me at all because 10 to 12 days is a lot of time to get to recover from a back spasm. But we'll see. We will 100% see. Probably in
You
10
know,
days time.
I
What
think
we
the
get.
funniest part of this whole Kawaja thing was that it was a golf injury, and one would expect a golf injury from one of the England lot, but I think they practice so much
Well,
that
we've had a couple now. Do you remember Josh Inglis broke his
yep,
hand? So we're just not as used to playing golf, I guess.
as the England. To be fair, Bairstow like career was kind of done
Oh
after that
yeah,
leg
leg
break
break.
from the golf
Man,
slip.
I'd kill
He
for
was
Beto right now.
he wasn't the worst thing about that was he was in the form of his life as well. He just come off that New Zealand tour and he slipped and broke his leg in I think 3 places or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, we had Maxwell get concussed as well off a golf cart. I remember that too.
Cricketers and
Maxwell
golf,
doing Maxwell things, man. Bloody hell.
cricketers and golf.
Yeah, the golf courses in Perth will be lava
Full,
in the next few days.
absolutely. Uh, but yeah, back to the actually, I just want to add something. Val, was there? I wanted to say this earlier. Val, was there internet shortage in the last 24 hours ago in Australia? Seems to be back up, just today. But yesterday morning, seemed like there was no Wi-Fi in Australia.
Well, I mean we do have some of the worst Wi-Fi in the world, despite inventing it. But yeah, I was we were losing the rattled battle, which was obviously what matters most. But I think we got it back today.
Yeah, I think
Nice
it's
to have
1-0.
the win as well. But
Yeah, rattle battle
it's
more
good.
means more.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
yeah,
did see that one tweet about the internet being out here.
yeah. But I think if you take away from like the journals doing it, because I think that's just annoying. But like within the fans, I think it's good to have that sort of
Yeah,
I don't
and
want
the
to say
thing
hate.
is, like, tweet while you're ahead. Like,
100%. Get your jabs in whilst you're ahead, and then just go
yeah,
into your shell when you lose. I
yeah,
think it's funny when like normal folks do it, like just like random guys tweeting about it. It's weird when like Fox News or the Murdoch owned newspapers are writing egregious headlines. Then it's just like,
yeah.
come on,
When they're
what are we doing
tweeting
here?
like Mufa,
Yeah,
it's like,
when it's come on, like what are we doing here? But like if you want to make a joke, or if someone like a normal bloke wants to make a joke, then it's fair game. It's funny. But if like Fox News tweeting about the Poms, this Poms, I'm like, come on, have a day off. I
yeah.
think
I mean, I've muted the word moral victory just in
oh
Twitter. I
horrendous.
see us,
It's
and the
so
thing
bad.
is, like, because it's just become like such a thing. Like we tweet about it more than like English
100.
people do.
I think
It's just
I
like,
think it be kind because funniest thing is it started from Harry Brook of all people, and a journalist basically asked him a question about, do you think it's a moral victory for England at Old Trafford, considering the fact that you probably would have won, and Harry Brook being Harry Brook, he probably didn't even think of his answer, and he just said what came to his head. He goes, "Oh, one would assume so," and I think it's just been completely taken out of context, and it's snowballed into something that it just isn't. But yeah, and it's become like incredibly annoying now.
I will say I was a big fan of the Cars Labuschagne exchange.
Oh, that's
I
good. That's
I
the
think
thing.
Need a bit of
every
that.
I think every
Noodle,
Ashes
noodle.
series, like especially from an Australian perspective, needs one like English fast bowler to hate, and I think Cars is
Cast is
one.
public enemy number
Cars.
one, and he after Ben
I don't not
Stokes.
he's not quite like he hasn't quite got the
You know
Ollie
the
Robbins
funniest thing about
tag
that
yet.
interaction was it was two South Africans
I
going
was
at it.
gonna say that. I was like,
It was good. Two South Africans going at it. I was like, oh,
in
that's the
Perth
funniest
as
thing.
well. It
Yeah.
couldn't be more fitting.
I was like, oh,
Bloody
that's
hell.
the funniest part about all that. You know what would be a good podcast episode of just talking about cricketers who could have played for South Africa that just didn't play because
Make
there's
it 11.
just so many.
You could make
Make
two
make it
11s.
make it
You
good.
could make
Yeah,
You
two,
could
three,
make an
11.
entire. You could make a New Zealand 11 against England 11.
Oh,
New
100%.
Zealand versus South Africa 11. Bloody hell.
Yeah, if you look at through the years, how many of those guys? Because if you look at the 29, you know what? We'll save it for another day because we're kind of venturing off topic. So,
I will
Let us
say,
know if you
watching that
want it.
Scott Boland spell, I was thinking how good Ollie Robinson would have been
oh, 100%.
on this
But
pitch.
I think Ollie Robinson is what could have been because I was speaking to someone other day actually because and they were telling me at his amateur club where he started he's not welcome there and I'm thinking what sort of a bloke do you have to be not welcome at your club that you started at, so that speaks I think volumes of him, and I think he's kind of realized as well that he did an interview recently where he said uh I think I kind of admit to the fact that his attitude wasn't good, and hopefully he's learned from England, bring him back into the fold. I don't think it's going to happen in the Baz, but I hope
I was just
whoever's
thinking,
next.
he's probably thinking to himself, I hope they get smashed and they're 3-0 down.
And I
McCullum
come in
resigns
Sydney,
mid
yeah.
series. I come in after playing in Sydney for a couple months. Then he's back.
And and before all that even happens, when he gets called up, he's going to do an emergency podcast with his wife and
I'll,
probably get
I'll
dropped
be
from the
tuned
squad.
in.
And he probably get dropped from the squad because one of the reasons he did get dropped was I think in before his last test in India, him and his girlfriend at the time, I think she was his girlfriend. I don't know if they're married or whatever now,
Yeah, I'm
but
married now. Yeah.
they recorded a podcast and they basically I think said something about what goes on behind the scenes, and I don't think ECB were too happy with that, so they had to get the podcast down. And I'm like, stuff like that probably does rub the brass the wrong way. Plus, him having fitness issues, not being the thing consensus that he's not really taking his fitness seriously when he's running and bowling at 73 miles an hour. You're thinking, come on, what's he playing at?
Oh, and also
But
the racism stuff. That
yeah,
probably happened.
all that as well. Like if you add all together, kind of makes sense. But when you look at him just as a bowler with his height, his action, the way he bowls,
Yeah.
he's still got a sub 25 average in Test cricket,
I
which
think
is
it's like
incredible.
He's super
22.
skillful.
Like,
You know what it
Even
is?
better.
You know what it is? The way he bowled on the last tour, it's something that England are dying for. And I'm gonna bring it back to the conversation, fully focus on the Ashes, and it's the Mark Wood. Um, it's a problem that I have with Mark Wood, and it's I think he's not good enough. I don't think he's suited for Australian conditions because I think he's too skiddy. Um, okay, great, 90 mile an hour plus bowler, but it's about the pace. It's about the way that the pace affects a batter.
yeah, it comes
Um,
on really well
Really
to the bat,
nicely, yeah.
especially
I
yeah,
if you're
think
used to that as
and if you guys
Australian batter.
if I can just build on that point, you look at the way that Bryden Cast was hurrying batters, Gus Atkinson, Archer, because they're relatively quite tall, and the way that they hit the pitch, it makes it seem as though 143, 144 is coming out a lot quicker than 151, 152, and that's a massive difference at international level. But when someone's quite skiddy, it's almost as if the ball's just kind of like, just kissing the surface, and it just you're able to just glide it onto the bat really nicely. And I don't think at any point Mark Wood looked like he was going to cause any trouble whatsoever. Whereas Braden Cass, I know he was quite expensive over the course of both innings. He was still causing a lot of problems. Archer being Archer, tapping into that world class ability of his, and Atkinson again just working really well in terms of in terms of his own skill set. I think there's one change I'd definitely make for the
Josh
second
Tongue.
test, and it
Yeah, I
would
was
be
gonna
Josh Tongue,
just say
because
that.
he's a little bit, yeah, okay, maybe he is slower than Mark Wood. I think Wood is the fastest bowler out of the entire, in this series, but Josh Tongue hurries batters on because of his action, and he will cause a world of problems for this Australian batting lineup with that pink ball if he gets it right. Because, well, that's if he gets it right. England have that luxury though because they've got Ben Stokes bowling as well as he is. So, yeah, no, I think
I think the angles he can create from that awkward run up that he has as well, like his action. Someone I think once mentioned it. He runs in like he's about to crap his pants, and I think that's a brilliant way to put it. And I think the angles he can create and stuff would be really good. But the thing is, he's a bit of a loose cannon. You don't know if you're gonna get a ball that's not gonna land in the cut strip, or if you're gonna get a ball that's absolutely unplayable. And I think sometimes it can be good as well. Like if he doesn't know what's gonna happen, how on earth is the batter in front of him gonna know what's gonna happen? So you can't really, as a batter, sometimes you might not be able to get set against something like that. So yeah,
I think one positive that both teams can take from this is because the game's over so quickly. Both bowling units have hardly had to do any bowling,
yeah.
and they're both going to have 2 weeks off.
And I think England got a 2-day game in between the
yeah, they
first
do
and
It's in,
second
against
test.
it's in
President's
Canberra.
11 or something.
No idea, but I know they've got a two
President's
day game.
11, I think. Yeah,
So I
Oh yeah,
think that'll
Jack
probably
Richards
give you.
playing that.
Oh no, that might give you more of an indication of what they're gonna go for in the second test with the lineup, because I think what they went for at Lilac Hill was pretty much what they went for at Perth. So I'm assuming whatever they go for in the 2 day test, of 2 day game, is probably what they're gonna go for in the
yeah, it's
second
at
test.
Canberra.
Yeah. Oh, is it at Canberra?
They've
So
uh,
one
they've
would
done
assume.
you guys dirty because I can't think of a ground more different from Brisbane than Canberra.
No. I mean, the same thing with Lilac Hill, isn't it? Everyone was saying that Lilac Hill very flat, doesn't bounce as much, and then you come to Perth, it's bouncing to your shoulders and moving all over the gaff. So, and I think that's a point that's quite. I know there's been a lot of talk about England having not enough preparation, but how are they going to prepare? Because Australia are going to sandbag regardless, so you can't prepare if you're going to get sandbagged anyway. So you're better off. I know it's underprepared, but there's nothing really you can do, especially with the way the calendar is these days.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Like,
a lot of the England team came over straight from a white ball tour from New Zealand.
They
Uh,
played white ball cricket. I don't know what they were doing, man.
so I think it's all about the revenue at the end of the nowadays. It's just all about what brings in the money. So you don't really have enough time in the calendar. Like there's been a lot of talk about from the
You got to make time. Sorry, I know it's just frustrating.
uh,
Sorry.
like a lot of the 10, 11, or the older lot have been talking about. We played 3 warm-up games, and then we played versus another, so 3 or 4 warm-up games. You just don't have the time in the
yeah,
calendar
can't
nowadays
can't do it.
to we had a 4 month tour. You cannot have a 4 month tour now. Like England had about 3 series in the 4 month period. So you have to go up maybe 20, 21 days earlier. That's the most at most you'll get, because of like how this T20 series here, there's T20 series there, there's a franchise tournament here, there's a franchise tournament there. And I think old heads kind of get caught up in that, and they don't realize that times are changing. And Stokes kind of had a swipe at them, saying that has-beens need to realize that it's not the same as it was when they were around. So yeah,
But I'm going to combat that and say, well, has-beens are also saying that if you want to prioritize the Ashes, if this is the final destination for baseball for your regime, then you have to make it the best you can be and follow the formulas that have worked in the past. Like for example, if you're not going to play a warm-up game and your warm-up game is against the England Lions and you're not getting used to the conditions, as you can tell with the way that England had batted, then it's going to obviously have a knock-on effect. I would also go on to the lengths of the extremes of saying, well, you're picking players that are going to play in Australia, and purely for that purpose. Look at Crawley, look at Shoaib Bashir, for example. If you're going to pick players based on that, then surely they should also be looking to get experience within Australian conditions, not just in the year, but also the years before as well. And I think what England don't do themselves a favour with is they go with so much of a relaxed approach and they use franchises, T20 tournaments, extra revenue, etc., as an excuse to kind of be like, well, you know what, we had this going on, we had that going on, and that meant that we can't really go out and get prepared or anything like that. And I think it's really damning that you want to build up to an Ashes series. This is something that, all of us England fans and Australian fans as well, this is something that we dream of as kids to play in. And these guys have got the privilege to do that. And it's not being either it's not being facilitated or they don't want it to be facilitated, that they get the necessary preparation in terms of facing Australian attacks and Australian pitches. Um, but prior to a series, and it's like, well, what's the point in coming here then? You want to win a series, you want to dominate, you want to gain something that us England fans have not had in 10 years, which is an Ashes series win. And you want to say, the old heads don't understand it. The old heads know. The old heads know because they've been there, they've done that. None of these guys have won an away test match in Australia. Like, you got nothing to say, man.
I think the other thing, I won't speak too much on the whole preparation aspect in terms of like, how early they get here and warm up games. But I think one of the key like mental differences between the two teams is like so much about what everything England has done ever since the last Ashes series ended has been about preparing for this one. It's giving guys debuts years in advance in preparation for the Ashes. It's all about the Ashes. Whereas Australia, they just try and pick the strongest team for every game they play and try and win every game. Guys talk about like, they're not phasing out the big four or whatever, but like they want to just win every game, and they'll pick what they think is the strongest team for every game. So it's like when you put so much pressure on, you've been building up for 2.5 years to this one series. Like, I'm not surprised they completely just fell apart. Like, when it feels like everything you've been building towards as a team, and all of a sudden, you're 7 down, 100 in front. Like, I'm not that surprised that happened.
I understand that. I'm just gonna ask you something. What's the rules around Sheffield Shield cricket? Like England players being allowed to play in that. Do you think clubs would take English players on in the Sheffield cricket, so maybe they could get a few games? Like how county teams take. Like Steve Smith before the
Yeah.
Ashes in 23 had 3 games at Sussex before the thing. But do you think is there any rules against that, or do you think England players just didn't go for it?
It's just like the culture around first class cricket here, it just isn't really that strong. Like Sheffield Shield's really just seen as a development for the Australian team. Because, like, in the UK, some of the richer counties are worth more than some test nations. And, like, they're very individual clubs who, part of their appeal is their overseas players. Whereas in Australia, it's just sort of like they're kind of just happy to feed the national team. So, like, there's
New
the
South Wales.
occasional, like, overseas player, but, like, it was like Barry Richards after South Africa had been banned. Like, it's just not
I,
really a thing that happens.
yeah, I know Imran Khan played in Sheffield cricket for a while
Yeah,
as well.
it happened a bit in like the 70s and 80s, but generally when guys come over here to play, it's, either the Big Bash or club
Grade
cricket.
cricket.
Yeah,
It's a lot of grade cricket. I know that's to be the case.
I know a lot of
Um,
England team have played great cricket in Australia. I think Root, Wood, Pope,
I think
they would
most
have
of
Broadbent.
they would have
the
played a
batting
lot of it
lineup
when they
have.
were like 18, 19.
Yeah,
Because a
Yeah,
lot a
it's
lot
what
of
you do
people.
sort of when you're just sort of breaking through as a first class cricketer, as like a rite of passage almost.
Yeah, so because like there's a couple of my club mates that are they're over in Australia right now playing cricket, and they're living the life, which is fair play to them. Got a lot of respect for them in that aspect because it's I mean they get to play cricket in Australia. You're living the
But yeah,
dream there.
I don't see that ever happening where like overseas players will come to Australia because I think Cricket Australia just has too much control over the states. Like, why would they allow
Uh,
that to happen?
that's what I was
That's the
thinking.
Suppose,
thing, yeah.
I was thinking maybe like the whole monopoly of thing. We don't want to give the opposition batters like too much
yeah,
practice
like I think
in. Yeah,
it's just like a top-down thing where it's like the Australian
mm.
team and then
And I
all the
think that's what
states.
Australia are kind of good at, like sandbagging teams. Whereas like England, we opened Steve Smith up with open arms. Come on, practice for the
Yeah,
Ashes. Have your three
I think
games.
it's because the England can't really stop it. Like the counties themselves are just
Independent. Yeah, I get that
yeah,
as well. Yeah, but I think it's going to become even worse now because a lot of the counties are being bought by Indian corporations, like IPL sister teams. So it's the like separation from ECB is going to become even bigger now. So it might be an even bigger problem going forward. But topic for another time. But yeah, I think look ahead to the Brisbane test, and I think do our team predictions, and so on and so forth. Because I know we've been talking for a long time now. So Brisbane has a. What would you say your team would be for Brisbane? Same team, changes for England. That is, and
I would say Josh Tongue in, Mark Wood out. Hopefully the bowlers will have recovered enough, and you've just got to bat the batting. Australia, I know you didn't ask about Australia, but I think if Australia want to, you know, absolutely make sure that they win this Ashes series in Brisbane, which is very likely that they will, you give Kawaja the tap on the shoulder. Travis Head comes in. You take out Brendan Doggett, you put Pat Cummins in, and swapping out Usman Khawaja, I would bring in Bo Webster.
and Val,
yeah.
same goes for you. What would you say what
I'd
let's do
probably
both.
do the same, but I'm not entirely sure if Cummins will play. Like, I think if Australia had lost this game, like they would have absolutely done everything to rush him back. I wouldn't be surprised now if he still doesn't play the second test. Like, it seemed like the aim, sort of, at the start of the series was the third test, but obviously, love to have him back. But yeah, I'd do the same. Open with Head, play Webster at 6 or 7. I guess I wouldn't mind putting Carey at 6.
I hope you're not doing the meme.
I thought about it,
It would be,
and
you know
oh
what it
yeah,
is?
I
It would
guess
be
there's
tough.
the whole thing with the. I guess you'd have to have someone about 5. I guess
Yeah,
hit Green
green
would
at
bat
5.
5.
Yeah, I think you just
Yeah.
move everyone up a slot kind
Yeah,
of thing, wouldn't you?
yeah, and
It
I'd
would be
probably
really it would be genuinely so comical if Australia go 2-0 up with Starc Boland and
And dog it.
Brendan Doggett.
and then
Like,
yeah, I suppose Lyon could also. That's just sort of one you have to wait and see. One on his
Yeah.
fitness and two the surface. Because if it is like last summer's Brisbane test, it was a pretty good batting wicket, and it was rain affected. It ended in a draw, but if it's a pitch like that, I would see them sticking with Lyon. But
I mean,
if
I
it
mean,
if it
I think
seems like a spicy one,
If Lions not fit, they got. I think they should go with Michael Nisa.
yeah, if Lyon's not fit, they won't play a spinner. It's
Yeah, I think they probably go for a seam attack as well. We
especially
might.
Nisa too, home ground.
I think if Australia go full seam, England go full seam, we might see 60 overs in a day. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think
Be 60
it'll
great.
be
Wouldn't it?
Root and Travis Head trying to save the over rates.
yeah. I
But
think
neither team's going to bat 80 overs, so we won't have to
no
worry about
chance, 100%.
penalty rates.
I think for me, I'd go same. I mean, if they really give me the keys to the England team, I'd drop Crawley, but unfortunately, I do not have the keys. But I think they're gonna go same. I think maybe drop Tongue for
Drop wood
Wood,
for tongue, you mean? Yeah.
and oh yeah, drop Wood for Tongue even. And I think maybe slight chance they go Will Jacks to lengthen the batting, but I don't think they will. But I think outside chance they might
I
because
don't think that. You know what it is. I really don't think they need to. I think it's more of a case
Yeah, I
of
think the batting's extremely deep. Wood number 11, like he'd bat
yeah.
9 for us.
Oh yeah,
but
he can get a clean sink at it. To be fair,
Hey, on my major issue is, um,
application.
if yeah, application. If England can't apply themselves in a way where, you know, they need to have Will Jackson at number 8, then there's already a problem. In an ideal world, I would absolutely love it if Ben Stokes was, um, could bat 8, um, and you'd have Will Jacks as the spinner, and then 3 out and out quicks, with Ben Stokes as your fourth seamer. But that's never going to happen because
Oh,
Ben
that's
Stokes, I think, is yeah,
I
that's
haven't
that's an
seen
ideal
enough
one.
of the England squad. If Crawley ever was to get dropped, who would actually open?
Ben McKinney. I think he's the
I
one
would.
In the
that's
squad?
he's in the Lions store. I think they've taken 16 off the main squad, and I think they've had like a Lions store as a. They're just behind the thing, so if anyone drops out or anything, they'll just call up from someone from the Lions store. That's why I don't think.
I think they go Bethel. I think they'd go
Uh,
Bethel.
it's a specialist role. I think give Bethel put Bethel at
You
3
say that,
come
but
the
Travis
summer.
Head just scored 100.
But he's
Yeah,
also opened the batting, and
I mean,
Bethel's opened the batting.
I
I
think
know it's really.
Bethel has. I think I wouldn't put Bethel there yet because I think it'd be stupid to do so because he's not had a lot of cricket in the last 8 months or so, and you're asking someone to come in open in the Ashes when, especially when you're under the pump. Uh,
And you're
so
asking Ben McKinney to do that, who has never played Test cricket before.
yeah, great point actually. But he's more of an opener than Bethel is, but and he's got a lot more cricket under his belt, kind of thing. So
Did
as
anyone?
of
I
recently,
was just thinking this watching Weather today. Did anyone else see a bit of Carberry in him?
I didn't watch the second innings, so couldn't tell you, mate.
I
He's
saw a
got
lot
that
of
like sort of hands really close to the like really cramped, like bent over
yeah.
Mike
I see kind of like
Carberry-esque
I
setup.
see kind of like when forward alarm like gets out of that crab front on stance and then gets
Yeah.
really low. He reminds me of forward alarm a little bit. But yeah, Carberry.
That's
I
a
mean,
name
I
I
don't.
haven't heard in a long time.
He's a bit of a
Yeah,
cult hero here,
Oh, is it because of the broken butt?
mainly. Yeah.
Ah,
well, that and Sydney Thunder. Well, no, it was Perth Scorchers, weren't
Yeah,
it?
the
He
Perth
played
Scorchers.
a great innings for the Perth Scorchers in the final, I think, weren't it?
and I think for
He also had an
Australia,
amazing helmet.
oh yeah,
Oh,
the helmet was class. To be fair,
he's one of the fastest runners in between the wickets as well. Shout out Michael Carberry. He didn't respond to my DM, man. I'm so vexed.
because we did try to get him on a podcast earlier, so I think, and he just aired this. So, but yeah, I think back to the point of Australia. I think they're gonna go quite similar. I think it's Pete Lalo. I think he's called.
Pete
Val.
Naylor. Pete
Peter
Naylor.
Lawler,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
he's a good reporter.
He said that the plan is for Cummins to play maybe 2 at most 3 tests. So I'm assuming they're not gonna risk him, especially being 1-0 up. In the Ashes. So I think they're gonna go same. Maybe head in for maybe Bo Webster in for Khawaja. But other than that, I think it's gonna be thing. And I think for the game itself, I think Australia win. And but the only bit of hopium I have is England were England did something similar, very stupid at Lords in 23, and they bounced back headingly. So I'm just gonna hold on to my copium
I
for
think one
another.
thing that can work well for England that was sort of similar to what happened in day one is because if they bat first in the pink ball test, you know, they score at the usual like Baz ball rate and they get bowled out what just after the second session ends and they have like
240 is
two
very much on the
yeah
cards.
with a pink ball under
Or under the
lights.
lights, yeah.
Like I think that could suit them. It's certainly not something you should play for, but
I think they did something similar in a day night game versus New Zealand a couple of years ago. They declared with I think about an hour or so to go, and they were still 6 down, 6-7 down. Uh, and they had a go at New Zealand, and they had them 3 down. So I think they could do something similar, and that's a very buzzball thing to do again. So yeah, you make a great point. But I think I don't know. I just can't see past the Australia win. I just think they're just so formidable, and the form that Stark's in, he's already incredible uh with the pink ball and the way he's bowling. I just can't see past Australia win. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Australia win. And the damning thing is that this is probably England's best side that they can put out. Australia still don't even know their best side. They still don't have access to their best side, and they destroyed us. So, I don't see any other way that England can go except if they manage to bat well. If they can somehow manage to apply themselves with the bat, learn how to leave on length here in Australia, and bat long and put overs in the Aussie bowlers' legs, then we never know. Just never know.
That's how you win out here. Like that's what India did. They had Pujara,
Pujara, yeah.
and I think like that's what it has to be root. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
I think I was
I
saying
think it was
to a
Pope.
friend of
I think it
mine.
was Pope. I think Root's more of an accumulator. Pope, like, I was really impressed with Pope. It's just that spell against Boland. He had his head scrambled big time. Like, it was frustrating.
I think with Pope, he has to get in early, because if he doesn't like get off the mark really quickly, he becomes very fidgety like really quick. So I think that's the only thing for me. But other than
Nah,
Yeah.
I
That
think
that
I
head
think
falling over is going to be a
Bec-
concern against Stark swinging it back in.
yeah,
I thought he handled him pretty well, to be fair. And I'm not. You know what it is? Probably around about September time, I was very much Bethel, because I'm from Birmingham. I'm a huge fan of Jacob Bethel. And I think he's the greatest gift ever given to England. Joking aside, I think he's a quality player, but I think what Pope has done is shown that he's shown that he's got metal. Aside from that last little period against Boland. And I think if England are going to do well in this series, a lot relies on Pope, Brook, and Root. It's that 3-4-5. If those guys aren't getting runs, it's lights out. You just need one of the openers to just do something once in the next two Test matches, because realistically, Starc with that new ball, it's going to cause chaos. And I'm worried Zach Crawley might even score a run. And in the next Test match, that would be something.
nah.
Did you guys see the stat that it was the first ever test where the first
three
were-
innings had a duck. Yeah,
0 for 1, yeah.
Yeah,
Or 1 for
nice.
0 in Aussie terms.
yeah.
But yeah, before we wrap up, I'm saying 2-0 Australia. Hey on.
Yeah, I think the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Australia
Mhm.
2-0, and I think that's going to be series done and dusted.
Val.
I think it will also be 2-0. But I don't think that series done and dusted, because I think my game for England to win this whole time has been like Adelaide. I think that's where they're most suited to win. So I think we'll win Brisbane, but I do think England can win in Adelaide.
Do you think England could potentially win at Brisbane as well, or is that me just holding on to some sort of copium?
I mean, they definitely can. I don't think they will, but like
It's
it's not over.
seizing the
It's not
opportunity.
over.
It's seizing the moment when it comes, and they didn't seize the moment in this Test match when they were
Yeah, like
60
this
for
isn't
1.
the 2021-22 team. Like this team is actually good enough to win games. They just have to, stop shooting themselves in the foot.
In the foot, kind of
If
thing.
there's one player I could swap out, I'd have Dawood Milan in this side from that
Very underrated
21-22
player.
series. Yeah. I'd have Dawood Milan open. He wouldn't open. He'd open the baton with Duckett, and Crawley would go.
Dare I say, Rory Burns?
Oh yes, I'd take Nick Compton, not Nick Compton. What's his name? Compton over Crawley. I'd even take you, Val. Pad up, go open for England. I'd take you over Crawley.
Thank you.
Anyone but Crawley. Like, I've been his biggest hater since day dot, and he's done nothing but prove me right.
60
I
odd
love
Test
the,
matches and an average
was
of
it
30.
Can I ask, Hayan, was it a intentional pun when you said you didn't have the keys to the team?
Bit of both, yeah. But I think
No, he didn't. He had no idea.
yes,
He
I
had
did.
no idea. He
I've
had
done it
no idea.
before.
There's no
Yes,
way.
I
There's
did.
no way.
I've done
There's
it
no way. He had
before.
no idea.
I've
Val,
done
you
it
giving him
before.
too much credit.
No.
Credit. He's not. He's not that smart, bro. He's like Harry
Oh,
Brook. He's
come
not the
on.
guy in the DP. No way he thinks of the pun. Keys. Rob Key, bro. He's been Rob Key
Come
out.
on.
There's no way he thinks of that
No,
pun.
I've done it before. Give me a bit of credit where it's due. But what's it called? Back to the point. I've been, the thing is, with Zach Crawley, there's not even any vindication of oh, I was proven right. When agenda comes off, it's just he's so bad that you're like, oh, you just feel sorry for him at this point.
Yeah.
I'm buying the Crowley stocks.
Yeah.
They're gonna go up.
When
They
you're
can
home,
only go up.
no, you don't know Crawley, brother. I watched him for nearly 60 tests. There's
He's gonna
still a
like
point.
run down the pitch and get a 5-run penalty and a duck.
Uh, they should have dropped him when he was averaging 9 in New Zealand last. Is it last winter or the winter before? But they didn't, so he's never getting dropped, is it? So yeah, I think 2-0 Australia. Nah. Before the series started, I'm as pessimistic as they come, and I was so excited. And all it took was 2 days. All it took was 2 days. All it took was 2 days.
At least you had the first day.
Yeah, because I remember saying to Val,
And I had the second session. Oh, sorry, the first session of this game.
and the worst thing is, I didn't even get to watch the second half of the 1 hour where England were on top. I didn't get to watch. I was watching through ESPN. I was like, the only bits I watched were uh, England's batting, both innings, and this Australia's first 4 wickets. So I guess I love that.
Man, pain. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you stuck around for that long here on Mission Podcast, today we had a very special guest joining us from South Islands in Australia, and Val. Hopefully, he'll make a few more appearances as our Australian analyst slash compatriot slash enemy slash C word. Not the.
Yeah, I'll be here if we win.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So he's going to be
Man.
here for every test match, then, guys.
Yeah, see you in 2 weeks.
Oh my god, we'll get you down together, mate. We'll get you down together, mate. Yeah, lot of disappointment from mine and Hayan's side. This is probably the earliest we've ever recorded a podcast. Like, it's light outside. It's always dark whenever we record, because we have to accommodate for Val's bedtime. Irrespective of that, guys, thank you very much for joining us. It's been pleasure, really, has it? I don't think it has. From Val's perspective,
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Thank
Like,
you
you
so
know,
I'm
much
sure
for
it
having me.
has.
I'm sure it fucking. It's been like.
It's been great having you on, having a conversation about cricket, but wish it was under better circumstances.
Yeah, no, I wish you weren't. I wish you weren't on here, and we were talking about us winning. Like, you wouldn't have turned up at all.
2027. I'm sure you'll have your.
Yeah. I hope.
We
I
say
hope,
that every single time. I thought
Yeah.
2023 I was gonna get my vindication, but no, Australia always find a way.
Nope, I've not had vindication for the last 10 years when it comes to Australia. The only time I've had it is in a World Cup semi-final, in a World Cup final that we won on a boundary count. So there's that. Anyway.
Take your wins where you get them.
Oh yeah, 100%. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for coming along, Hayan and Val, and to any of you guys that are here, let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen in the second test. Any wild and crazy predictions, please let us know. We've kind of scattergunned our own predictions in terms of what's going to happen in the second test. I think England are going to, if England win the toss, I think they'll bat first, make 230, and get Australia under lights. And also think that Kawaj is going to get dropped. So anything else that's similar, bit rogue, go for it. I think Hayan's prediction of Khawaja not making it to the fifth test is very likely to be on the cards. And also for Starc to take the most wickets is up there too. And yeah, I think that's that, guys.
Crawley top run scorer isn't.
Oh,
please.
There's more chance I get called up to the England team than Crawley getting. Oh no, there's more chance Ollie Robinson's playing at the SCG than there is Crawley.
Right, that's it. Yeah, I'm still sticking by that one.
There's more
Fair
chance
game.
that happens than Crawley getting top run scorer.
Fair game, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, TikTok, Instagram, etc. We're on the road to, I think, 300 subs or 400 subs, whatever it is. Make sure you subscribe. And yeah, we'll be posting our reactions to this test match and any previews for the next test match very soon. So, guys, thank you for coming along. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you next time.